else. You know what I'm saying?
You go shopping at 7-Eleven for that one.
Exactly. You get that 7-Eleven wine, that $1 like salmon that they have in their freezer section. Saute that up with some butter. And
Yeah, you're living
like
life.
a poor bachelor.
You're
The
living like
continental
a
life.
Yeah, like a college student. You're doing great.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of college student, I bought a huge bag of Bit of Honeys, and I'm so excited to just tear through that shit in like a night. It's enormous. It's like a fucking value size bag. So wonderful. Anyway, back to the episode. We've been in the world of the weird for a few weeks now. So today's episode is going to go back to true crime. But before we do that, I almost forgot to hand it off to Alex.
Is this true? Is this true crime?
Who knows
is
if it's true?
true.
At this point, I don't believe anything anyone says on this show. I don't believe anything. It's all like, and then Voldemort murdered her. I can't believe anything.
You're just lucky that nothing went wrong, because if it had, we would all be in the pocket of a dark sorceress. You know what I mean?
No,
That's true.
I do
That's
not
true.
know. No one knows what you're talking about.
But you know what is true is that if you head over to patreon.com/Chilluminati Pod, you can do with a little, you can go a long way towards supporting our podcast. You get all sorts of great benefits becoming a patron, from pre-sale stuff to custom art to just the greatest little, feeling in your heart that you've somehow helped some artists make something beautiful.
And
you
it's
can
always fucking cool.
Yeah, and everything is always great, and you get mini-sodes. We're going to record one right after this. There's an entire library of them. How many are there?
So we released
400? 300?
Yeah, we're in like the 50s. So we released a mini-sode compilation last week, but that was 5 months ago. That was the ones we released. So you got 5 months of mini-sodes to catch up on if you only have had the compilations.
The mind fucking boggles. Okay? So head over to patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod. There's something for everybody. It might be the greatest website ever made. See you guys there. See you there.
I know Jesse shit all over, saying he didn't believe the Green Rock story, but we crossed a threshold, one of our goals. So can we force Jesse to believe?
Oh, you mean that Green Rock story? Oh, yeah, no, that's totally real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh,
That's
no,
all we
that
needed.
one? Oh, yeah, no, that one's very real.
I found it on a YouTube video.
Yeah.
So
And that's what makes
it's
it the
real.
most real. Exactly.
Oh, yeah, no, that
right.
is, I believe it. We still don't have an answer for what was going on in that house, but it doesn't matter, because I'll
one
believe it.
day, there will be one. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of it.
I'm excited for that day, that 10 years from now, when we finally get that third episode to finish the trilogy.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I'm going to sneak it in. I'm going to sneak it up on you guys.
All right, I'm into it. But today is no weird. So you can take off your weird vest. You can take off your weird hat. We're going into the world of true crime again. And to give you an idea, this is a cult that I guarantee the two of you probably have never heard of, but with its death toll will surprise you, because it's one of, if not the most lethal cult to have ever existed, and perhaps one that nobody really truly knows about. To give you an idea before we go into this, it's really crazy to think about how much death was within one of the most well-known cult massacres of all time. I'm talking, of course, about Jonestown. On that horrible day, 909 people lost their lives to the whims and machinations of a man all too obsessed with power and control, and all too talented at manipulating the vulnerable and the desperate. But what if I told you there's another cult out there that surpasses even Jonestown in its death toll, yet are never spoken of or discussed when the subject of cults is brought up? A cult that by its end in the year 2000 killed 924 people.
What?
There's many reasons. Yeah, 924 people died at the hands of this cult that we're about to dive into.
Is this going to be like,
And there's
Goop, Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop or something?
Yes, it was Goop that took them all out in the early 2000s. One night, everybody put Goop on their body and they were dead by morning.
Oh, it's
Nobody
not
knows
on
what
your
happened.
body.
Oh, it's inside. It's another type of green stone that you don't want to mess with.
And there's a reason for it too. This cult is infuriatingly interesting and fascinating all at once, because we know with this cult just enough to piece the story together to figure out what happened and why they all died. But unlike something with Jonestown and the People's Temple, we truly don't have an inner understanding of how they worked beyond a few people who survived early in the cult's life before they left. There's many reasons this cult is lesser known, but the biggest is that while it failed catastrophically at its end, it was one of the very few cults whose details and inner machinations were to themselves. What we know is from what investigations were able to ascertain from discovered bodies and those few who were able to escape and interact with the cult. But I believe it's one that should be looked at more often. This episode is all about the cult named the Movement for the Restoration of the Ten Commandments, also known as, to those who have researched it, the Ugandan cult tragedy. And like all cults, these people needed a charismatic leader, and that's where our story begins.
You know what? This is like real cynical, but the minute you said the Ugandan cult tragedy, I was like, oh, that's why Americans have never heard of it.
Yep. There is. I mean,
like, it's terrible, but that's correct. Absolutely the truth. It's like,
100%.
Oh, it was an African thing. Yeah, no, we don't know much about that.
Literally, as I was looking for cults to do, because one day I'd love to do like Jonestown and stuff, but that's like a project for years from now when I have more resources at my fingertips. But I wanted